Alright, so we're starting clean, and here we go. I haven't bought an electric guitar since 2013 or so. My LTD EC401 that I have some videos on. Really good guitar. The time had finally come to get something new. And I've wanted a Telecaster for a while. I don't know if I'm getting older or what's going on, but this shape just really started appealing to me, so I got one, finally. Decided to go with the Sonic series, and I decided to go with the regular old single coils, despite me looking at all this humbucker stuff, because I wanted to see how much noise these even actually make or deal with. For today, I think I'm just going to keep this really simple, and I'm going to demo the first part using two pedals. The Tech 21 Fuzzy Brit, and the new X Masamune, I'm sorry. Compression on from the Masamune. I just proceeded to jam for 20 minutes. I'm going to cut a whole bunch of it out. But I'm just supposed to be sitting here showing you a little bit about the guitar. Here's what you need to know. Alright, so this is a Sonic series. A whole bunch of people were telling me to go for the classic vibe. And I know the classic vibe is better, but it has a lacquered, gloss neck, and I actually prefer this satin. I'm going to tell you a little secret about this. The guitar player in my old band had an American Telly, and that neck, the finish was one of the best finishes I felt on a neck ever. This one is about 80 to 85% of the way there. And the fretboard edges are actually rolled on this guitar. There's not a sharp edge here. This is slightly rounded over. The neck is incredibly smooth. The setup is, to some people, maybe they could get lower, but see, I'm ham-fisted coming from the bass world. This is perfect for me. It feels like butter. The Indian Laurel fretboard is interesting to me because I am bored of all these rosewood fretboards, so much so that I avoided buying anything with rosewood for a long time. Only one of these basses has a rosewood board. The rest are all maple. But this is actually pretty interesting because of how streaky it is and how dark in some places. The porousness is very similar to rosewood, but here, let me see. See, it's just like a little bit more streaky than rosewood. Light down the center, a little bit darker on the sides. It's kind of a nice touch for something that's different. I'm the only one that'll see that. So that's another thing, is just a dark wood. But I kind of start to wonder if dark wood with the light colored hands, white hands, is a better contrast for you to see what I'm playing than against maple. Because I don't know if my hands blend in with maple. I got a really good deal. This was $184 or something, down from $230. This is the limited edition Daphne Blue. As of the time of my shopping, there were 3 different blues. And in the past, I'm sure there have been other blues. Blue is my favorite color, and I like that guitar manufacturers like blue as much as I do. California blue was my favorite of the ones available, but they were not on sale. They were $230, $235, somewhere in that range. Then there was the Guitar Center exclusive. I can't think of the name of that blue, but it was a very nice blue. It was a little bit darker than this and had a little bit more of a green content. This Daphne Blue, as you can see, is very like a whole lot of white mixed in with it. It appears darker to me than it does to the camera. No matter what I do with the light, I can't make it appear to the camera how it does to me, so you'll have to take my word for it. So when it comes to me buying a cheap instrument, I'm looking for a few things. I'm looking for good construction. I don't care about wood. By the way, this is poplar, maple, Indian Laurel. Poplar's been a good choice lately because of the weight. This is pretty solid for a guitar, but light compared to basses. So I couldn't really tell you how it compares to other guitars. I can just tell you that it's a very good weight for me. And when I hold it like, like this, seems like it's going to balance very well. I have not put it on a strap yet. I already mentioned the back of the neck. The feel is amazing. These tuners are pretty good, actually, already. The first thing I did when I opened the box was I poked my finger on the high E string. So I have a feeling that I'm going to go with locking tuners at some point here. I know that's not going to avoid me poking my fingers on a finished peg, but my experience restringing guitars over the years, I poke my fingers a lot. Having played mostly bass, you cut the string and you fit it down into the open peg head, and then you wrap it. That's like the vintage style that comes on a lot of the modern Fenders, especially Telecasters. These are not that style. So that style is cool because it's similar to bass, but it's hard to do the unwound strings with those type of tuners. So I'm actually glad that I have this, and I could fit this with locking tuners at some point. I'm in no rush to do that because the play of these feels really good. The bridge seems really good, but as you can see, I haven't touched the intonation. I noticed a few little parts of my lines were a little wonky on the intonation. I know that this is going to have to be adjusted somewhat because they've just got it straight across. I'm assuming it came with Fender strings. These are actually pretty good. I'm not going to rush to change them. And I think I'm going to keep 9s on here. This is my first 25.5-inch scale guitar that I've actually owned. I've only had a 24 3/4 for all this time with 10s. So I guess I'm going to put 9s on here. That's what I think I'm going to do. Bending is super easy. And I noticed that I'm not having the experience that I did early in playing guitar for church, like some 12, 13 years ago, where I would fret so hard that I bend notes out of tune, because this nut is actually cut very well. Could be a little lower on these high strings, but I only have bass nut files, so I'm not going to mess with this. I'm not going to touch it. It feels good in this range, and even playing an F, if I'm not ham-fisted, once again to use that term, it's an in-tune chord. If I see, that's out of tune. This is gentle. This is hard. One of the most important things is this guitar makes me want to play. I sat down and started playing a bit of an original song that I have in my mind on it, and the tone was exactly what I wanted. I added a little bit of reverb. I was using the same fuzzy Brit pedal, and it was exactly what I wanted. So I don't really find myself playing metal anymore, and this guitar is kind of more the tone I would want for anything I play nowadays. You saw I played a whole bunch of Alice in Chains, none of the heavy stuff, but some of the lighter things and stuff like that, and you can tell, even on the recordings, you can look this up, Jerry Cantrell used a Telecaster or G&L Tele type guitar to overdub on like Heaven Beside You and Brother and a Strat or something like that on the solo lead parts of Nutshell. Like I played, it sounds like it was a single coil guitar. What I'm getting at is these are stock pickups and they sound really good. When I go to the neck, I lose a little bit of clarity. I have that warmth that I want, but it's still a little too full. I lowered it down a hair from the way it came because it was overpowering the bridge. I like the middle, but the middle dips the mids a little bit too much. So we're going to try some replacement pickups that are vintage style Alnico 3. I'll explain a whole bunch of the details of that when they show up. I think that's really going to liven up the guitar for sure. I was hoping so, that this would be the case, but if you haven't seen any of my other videos back here, this is a Squier Bronco bass, and it's made in Indonesia. And I know that depending on the batch that you order, you might get China, you might get Indonesia. In my experience, I've always had better luck with Indonesian guitars. That being said, I have a couple of Chinese-made ones here. But Indonesia's always been very good, and I was hoping that this would be Indonesia, and it is. So this one is also made there. I have a feeling that that's going to be the new norm, because of all the tariffs are more harsh on China than they are on Indonesia. So that kind of is a win for us musicians, because if we get the Indonesian instruments cheaper and they're better quality, I mean, what's to hate there, you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, the tariffs have overall just sucked for musicians, especially when I have gone to look up the price of certain things, and you know, all this music gear costs more, but are we getting paid more? No. So, you know, this is one of the few experiences I've ever had where a government decision directly hit me. I've been harsh on Fender. In a lot of my videos, I've talked about not liking the 9.5-inch radius. And then for bass specifically, I've talked about nut width. But this is my sample size of 2. I've enjoyed the Squiers more than the Fenders, which is funny. I'm starting to realize that 9.5-inch radius is actually pretty good for guitar purposes, and maybe I just don't like the way that it feels for bass. And given my experience with this guitar, I would very much buy other guitars from the Sonic series, because the quality of the construction is good. When I look this thing over, there's a couple of little interesting dark spots right here. You can't even see them. Up against the plate, there's a couple of dark spots. It was just kind of dirty in some spots. But the finish is pretty good. There's no dings. This is not a black, white, black pickguard. It's just solid white. That doesn't matter to me. I'm just throwing that out there. The knob is, volume knob is dragging against the plate just a hair. And then the pickups are their ceramic, cheapest they can make version of Telecaster pickups. And this is the first thing that pops out to me as being like, they're trying to cut corners. Just go look up Fender Custom Shop. Look up the Nocaster pickups or the Black Guard or White Guard. They cost more than this guitar, which is kind of understandable. I know the amount of work that goes into making those kind of pickups. So yeah, it's very interesting. But something like those would really make this guitar be the old style vibe. I know that these being ceramic has impacted the tone to be not exactly what you expect. So in the spirit of the Nocaster and stuff, we're going to put some Alnico 3 pickups in here. I think it goes without saying, but this quickly became my favorite guitar over the LTD. Sorry, LTD. It's good to have a humbucker guitar still around, though, in case I want to do chuggy chugs. You know what I mean?